Far beyond the familiar stars of the Milky Way, the Zerathian fleet moved with quiet precision. Their ships glimmered in the darkness of space, long, slender, and cold, each one designed to intimidate and conquer. The commanders believed they were approaching an easy target, a small blue planet that had sent strange signals into the void. From their scanners, the planet seemed primitive. There were no massive energy shields, no space stations in orbit, and certainly no weapons of war that could match their technology. The Zerathians, proud and confident, did not expect resistance. Their mission was simple: observe, assess, and then prepare for conquest if necessary. In the command room of the lead ship, a high-ranking officer named Voran studied the planet below. The surface swirled with blue oceans, brown continents, and white clouds that moved like gentle whispers across the atmosphere. "It is defenseless," Voran said, his voice echoing in the metallic chamber. "We can take it without losses. Prepare the scouts for landing." His words were sharp, precise, and without doubt. Around him, the other officers nodded. They had faced hundreds of planets like this and had never failed. Meanwhile, on Earth, people went about their daily lives, unaware of the watchers in the sky. Cities buzzed with the sounds of traffic, children played in parks, and birds flitted across green fields. Scientists in observatories noticed unusual signals, strange waves that seemed to come from space. They could not identify them, but their instruments warned that something unusual was approaching. Military radar stations picked up unidentified objects entering the solar system, small and fast-moving, and then larger ships that hovered above the clouds. Alarms were raised, but the world had never seen anything like this before, and the leaders were unsure how to respond. The first scouts landed in remote areas. They expected humans to flee in fear, or at least to be easy to capture. Instead, the humans watched silently, hidden in forests, deserts, and mountains. These early scouts were not prepared for what they found. The planet itself seemed alive in ways they did not understand. The deserts had heat so intense it could melt metal in minutes. The forests were dense and poisonous in some areas, with plants that released toxic spores. The oceans roared with storms that could swallow ships whole. Even the cold regions were deadly, with ice so thick that it could crush unprepared feet, and winds that could strip flesh from bone. The Zerathians realized quickly that Earth was not like the peaceful planets they had conquered before. Back in orbit, Voran did not understand the hesitation of his scouts. They reported minor injuries and losses, and Voran grew impatient. He had expected quick results. "Report properly," he barked. "This planet will submit. It is only a matter of time." The scouts communicated their struggles, describing humans who fought back cleverly. They used simple tools in unexpected ways, creating traps, ambushing patrols, and disappearing into terrain that the aliens could not navigate. The humans had no advanced weapons, no laser cannons, but they had ingenuity, courage, and a deep knowledge of their world. Every step the aliens took was met with resistance. Every corner of the planet seemed to hide a new threat. The humans, on the other hand, were both scared and excited. They had heard stories of invaders from the stars in legends and books, but now it was real. Scientists, soldiers, and ordinary citizens worked together, sharing knowledge and planning. The more the aliens attacked, the more humans learned. They studied the scouts' movements, tracked them, and discovered weaknesses. Even simple objects became deadly. Heavy rocks dropped from cliffs could crush alien patrols. Fires could be set to create smoke and confusion. Rivers were used to trap enemies who could not swim in the cold, fast waters. Human resilience became more than survival. It became a weapon. The scouts' reports reached Voran, and he could not hide his growing concern. He had believed Earth to be insignificant, a world that would fall without a fight. Now he saw that humans were clever and daring, able to adapt to the worst the planet could throw at them. It was troubling. "Prepare for reinforcements," he ordered, though his voice carried unease. "If they resist this much, they will not surrender easily. Call the fleet. We will show them our full strength." The humans, unaware of the larger fleet on the way, continued their efforts. They communicated quietly, using signals and messages that the aliens could not decipher. Small teams moved through forests, deserts, and cities, always staying one step ahead. One team in the mountains managed to disable a scout ship, causing confusion and fear among the invaders. Another team set traps in a desert canyon, catching several alien soldiers. Every success gave humans confidence, and every failure taught them something new. They were learning, and the Zorathians did not understand that humans thrived on challenge. Night came, and the humans looked up at the sky, seeing ships hovering above, enormous and alien. Some felt fear, others anger, and some only curiosity. They had no time to wait for orders. Leaders emerged from ordinary places, farmers, teachers, engineers, and directed small squads to defend towns, bridges, and supply points. Even children helped by passing messages, guiding adults, and warning of alien patrols. The planet's defense was not organized in a traditional army, but in a network of people using their knowledge and courage to survive. Vorin watched from orbit as minor skirmishes escalated. The humans' tactics were primitive, yes, but effective. They understood the planet in a way no alien could. Every trap, every ambush, every clever maneuver made the Zorathians more cautious. "They are not afraid," an officer whispered. "They are fighting us with their own world." Vorin's pride bristled. He could not admit it openly, but a seed of fear took root. For the first time, he questioned whether their confidence had been foolish. Days passed and the conflict escalated. Scouts reported losses, strange injuries from terrain, and humans that seemed to appear and vanish at will. The planet itself became an ally to the humans, its deserts, jungles, oceans, and mountains all working against the invaders. Vorin convened his commanders and officers, and for the first time there was disagreement in the ranks. Some wanted to retreat, but others urged a full-scale assault. Vorin, unwilling to show weakness, decided to send a message to the nearby Zorathian fleet. They needed backup. Earth was turning out to be more dangerous than they had imagined. On Earth, humans did not know about the reinforcements. They only knew that the scouts were getting stronger, smarter, and more dangerous. They prepared for more encounters, fortifying positions and creating clever defenses. Some of the older humans remembered stories of survival from earlier generations, using knowledge of the environment to create traps and strategies. Each human seemed to carry a spark of determination that the aliens could not understand. To the humans, this was their home. They would fight not for conquest, but for survival. As the first signs of the approaching fleet shimmered in space, the humans could only guess at the scale of the challenge. They had dealt with scouts and small patrols, but they had no idea that thousands of ships might be on their way. Yet even without knowledge of the approaching threat, their courage did not falter. They had faced danger with nothing but their wits and determination, and they had survived. They would continue to survive. They would fight. And the planet itself seemed ready to help them. Far above, Vorin's ships adjusted their course. The humans were clever, unpredictable, and deadly in their own way. The officers who had been confident only days before now whispered about the planet's dangers and the strange abilities of its inhabitants. Vorin clenched his claws in frustration. He could not believe that a small, primitive planet had caused so much trouble. But he knew one thing clearly. Earth would not fall without a fight, and humans were far more dangerous than anyone in the Zorathian fleet had ever imagined. The stars continued to shine, cold and distant as Earth spun quietly beneath them. Humans moved in shadows in forests, in deserts, in mountains, and in cities, preparing for battles they did not fully understand. The scouts stumbled, injured and confused. And somewhere deep in the vastness of space, reinforcements began their slow approach, unaware that they were about to face something unlike any planet they had ever encountered. The first part of the story closed with tension thick in the air. Humans were learning, adapting, and fighting back. The Zorathians were beginning to fear what they had underestimated, and the planet itself, harsh and unforgiving, waited silently, ready to test anyone who dared to challenge it. The alien reinforcements moved slowly through space, their long, dark ships cutting across the stars like sharp knives. Vorin watched them arrive from the command deck, his mind tense. He had expected this planet to be an easy victory, a world to conquer without losses, but Earth was proving otherwise. The scouts had returned with reports of humans using the environment as a weapon, and for the first time, Vorin felt doubt. Still, he would not admit it aloud. The humans would see weakness and take advantage. The fleet had arrived, and they were confident in their numbers. They believed sheer force would crush any resistance. On Earth, the humans were alert but cautious. They had seen the alien scouts before, small ships landing in deserts, forests, and mountains, but now they noticed larger vessels in orbit. The humans did not know exactly what the fleet contained, but they could sense the danger. Leaders from different parts of the world communicated quickly. sending messages, sharing strategies, and preparing civilians for evacuation in case of emergency. But the humans did not panic. They had learned from the scouts' mistakes and had adapted their methods to fight effectively on their home terrain. The first encounter happened in the deserts of the south. A small alien landing party descended near a canyon filled with jagged rocks and shifting sands. They moved cautiously, their weapons ready, expecting humans to scatter and hide. Instead, humans appeared from hidden tunnels and behind rocks. They hurled crude but effective weapons, setting traps that sent the aliens tumbling into pits. One of the alien soldiers shouted in panic as a sandstorm, whipped up by human machines, blinded the squad and forced them back. They were confused. They had been trained for battle, but they were not prepared for humans who used the desert itself as a weapon. In the mountains, another squad of humans waited. They had studied the alien landing patterns and knew their weaknesses. Using ropes, nets, and simple pulley systems, they toppled alien patrols into cliffs. The Zerathians were strong and fast, but they were not adapted to climbing rugged terrain under attack. One by one, the aliens fell into the traps, injured or immobilized. The humans cheered quietly among themselves, careful not to be seen by the scouts above. Their confidence grew with every successful ambush, and they learned new ways to use the planet's dangers against the invaders. The oceans were no less deadly. Humans used small boats, hidden coves, and treacherous currents to their advantage. When alien ships tried to land near the coasts, they were met with unexpected obstacles. Nets dragged into the water caught landing gear, and sudden storms created by human machines forced ships back into the sea. Even the alien sensors could not predict the sudden attacks from underwater, or the clever maneuvers of humans who had learned to read the currents and tides. The invaders began to realize that Earth was alive in ways they could not understand, and their frustration grew. Voron's officers gathered on the main deck to report the failures of their scouts. "These humans are not weak," one officer said. "They do not flee, they fight. They use everything around them and yet they survive." Another added, "Our training does not prepare us for this. They are unpredictable and clever. The planet itself seems against us." Voron remained silent, feeling a cold worry creeping into his mind. He knew he had underestimated the humans and their connection to the planet. Still, he would not show fear. The fleet had arrived, and they would bring victory, he told himself. Back on Earth, humans continued their work, strengthening defenses and preparing for the unknown. They were ordinary people, farmers, teachers, engineers, and children, but they had become extraordinary in the way they fought together. They used simple tools like rocks, ropes, and fire, but combined them with intelligence and planning. Even small victories gave them courage. A scout ship disabled by clever traps was celebrated quietly among the humans. A group of aliens caught in a canyon ambush was proof that their home was theirs to defend. Every small success made them more daring, more willing to take risks, and more united. The aliens tried to adapt. They deployed more advanced technology, attempting to track humans and anticipate their movements. But the humans were always one step ahead. They studied alien behavior, predicting their attacks and creating countermeasures. The Zerathians could sense the humans learning quickly, and it frightened them. Their calculations had not prepared them for creatures who thrived on challenge, who used the planet's dangers as weapons, and who fought not for conquest but for survival. Night fell on the desert, and humans moved silently across the sands. They had set up signals using simple fires and mirrors to communicate between teams. When an alien squad attempted to move under the cover of darkness, they were met with sudden bursts of flame and falling rocks. Panic spread among the invaders as humans struck from unexpected directions. The Zerathians tried to regroup, but the terrain and the clever tactics of the humans made it impossible. One by one they retreated, their pride wounded and their confidence shaken. In the forests, humans used the dense trees to hide and strike. They had learned to mimic the sounds of animals, creating confusion and fear among the aliens. Patrols were lured into traps using false trails, and entire squads were disoriented before they could react. Voron could see the reports coming in from all parts of the planet, and he realized that every alien landing met fierce resistance. These humans were not afraid. They were cunning, brave, and relentless. The fleet's arrival was no longer a guarantee of victory. The mountains and deserts were not the only dangers. The planet itself seemed to fight back. Sudden storms, earthquakes, and floods created obstacles that the aliens could not predict. Even in cities, humans had created defenses that used simple machines and everyday materials to block alien advances. Roads were rigged to collapse, buildings were reinforced with hidden traps, and civilians were ready to assist soldiers at a moment's notice. The aliens could not understand how a seemingly primitive species could use every part of the planet so effectively. Voron's voice was calm, but inside he felt growing fear. The humans had no advanced weapons, no fleets of their own, and yet they fought like creatures born for war. They are not just defending themselves, he said quietly to his second-in-command. They are using the world itself to attack us. The officer nodded, uneasy, as reports of losses and failures continued to arrive. The fleet's arrival was no longer a simple solution. The humans had turned the planet into a fortress, and every part of it was deadly. Despite the danger, humans continued to adapt. They studied alien movements, communicated in secret, and used the simplest things to deadly effect. Even a small child could become a warning system, signaling patrols and guiding teams to safety. Families moved together, carrying messages, supplies, and sometimes weapons to help the defenders. The planet's terrain gave humans an advantage that no alien technology could overcome completely. Every canyon, forest, desert, and ocean was a battlefield, and humans knew it better than the invaders. The Zorathians tried to regroup, but their pride prevented them from retreating. They had called for reinforcements because they believed in their strength, and they could not admit defeat. Still, doubts grew in their minds. They had expected easy conquest, but Earth was proving unpredictable, deadly, and unlike any planet they had ever seen. Reports of human ambushes, use of terrain, and clever strategies filled the command room. Voron remained silent for a moment, staring at the blue planet spinning below, and he knew that this battle would not be simple. The humans were dangerous not because of technology, but because of courage, intelligence, and a deep understanding of their home. As night turned to day, humans continued their work. Some repaired damage caused by alien attacks, others prepared new defenses, and some simply watched the skies, ready to warn of approaching threats. Each human had become a soldier in their own way, not out of duty, but out of love for their home and the people around them. The planet itself seemed to respond, winds shifting, rivers rising, and forests closing paths to confuse the invaders. Humans had become part of the planet's defense, and the aliens were beginning to realize that no technology could replace that connection. Voron's fleet hovered above the planet, massive ships glinting in the sunlight. He could see the humans moving below, clever, brave, and united. For the first time, he understood that this would not be an easy conquest. Earth's defenders were ordinary creatures with extraordinary courage. They used their world as a weapon and themselves as shields. The fleet's arrival might not be enough to overcome the obstacles, and for the first time, Voron wondered if they had underestimated humans too much. The humans did not know the fleet's full strength, but they prepared for anything. They had survived scouts, adapted to challenges, and used the planet's dangers to their advantage. Now a larger threat loomed, but the humans were ready to meet it with the same courage and ingenuity they had shown so far. The planet itself seemed to watch with them, waiting to test the invaders further. Humans were learning fast, and the aliens were learning that victory was not guaranteed. The stage was set for a greater confrontation. The humans had survived the first encounters and had proven their cleverness and bravery. The aliens had arrived with their fleet expecting easy conquest, and now faced a planet that fought back with every tool it had. The battle lines were drawn, not with armies or advanced weapons, but with courage, cunning, and the harsh power of a world that refused to yield. And so the humans waited, watched, and prepared. Every canyon, forest, desert, and ocean became part of their strategy. Every person, every child, every elder had a role to play. The aliens, confident at first, were beginning to understand that Earth was not a world to take lightly, and the humans who called it home were not creatures to be underestimated. The coming battle would be unlike any they had faced before, and the humans were ready to meet it with everything they had. The humans had survived the scouts and learned to fight the alien intruders, but now a larger threat was approaching. The Zorathian fleet, massive and gleaming, moved steadily through space, their numbers far greater than anything the humans had faced. Voron watched from his command ship as the planetscape below twinkled with cities, forests, deserts, and oceans. He could see the humans moving in small groups, preparing traps and defenses. For the first time, he felt uncertainty. These creatures were clever, brave, and willing to fight despite the danger, and now he had to face the consequences of underestimating them. In the cities, humans gathered in small teams. Leaders emerged naturally, not from military rank but from courage and intelligence. Engineers worked to reinforce buildings and create hidden passageways. Farmers and laborers dug trenches and prepared barricades. Children were given small tasks to help with communication and warning systems. Everyone had a role to play and everyone understood the stakes. This was their home and they would fight to protect it. The humans knew they could not match the alien technology, but they could outthink and outmaneuver the invaders. The Zerathians had expected the planet to submit, but reports of human victories over scouts had arrived quickly. Vorin summoned his officers to a meeting. "These humans are not what we expected," he said, his claws tightening around the edge of the table. "They adapt, they plan, and they fight back. We cannot rely on brute force alone. Prepare the reinforcements for immediate deployment. We will overwhelm them with numbers, and their courage will not save them." On Earth, humans noticed changes in the sky. Shadows of massive ships blocked the sun at times, and the air hummed with the energy of approaching war machines. The humans had seen this before, but the scale of the fleet was terrifying. Yet fear did not control them. They had learned that survival depended on courage, planning, and using the environment. The desert teams worked to create deep pits and traps, while forest squads set ambushes using hidden nets and spikes. Coastal groups prepared boats and makeshift water obstacles to confuse the aliens. Every human movement was strategic and every action had a purpose. The first skirmishes began when smaller alien squads attempted to test human defenses. They moved cautiously, trying to see where humans were located, but they were immediately met with traps and ambushes. One alien patrol, expecting an easy landing near a river, found the water filled with hidden spikes and debris. Ships attempting to land were damaged, forcing them to retreat. In the mountains, alien soldiers fell into camouflaged pits or were swept away by controlled rock slides. Even the forests were deadly. Humans used sound, movement, and misdirection to confuse the aliens, leading them into dangerous terrain. Vorin received reports of these failures, and his patience wore thin. "Prepare for the main attack," he ordered, his voice hard and sharp. "The fleet will arrive in full formation, and we will crush them. We cannot allow these humans to outsmart us any longer. Reinforcements will finish what the scouts could not." Officers around him exchanged uneasy glances. They had seen the humans' cunning, and even with the full fleet, victory was not certain. The humans continued to adapt. They studied alien patterns, learned their weaknesses, and developed new strategies. Even ordinary objects became weapons. Heavy boulders were rolled onto alien squads, fires were set to create smoke and confusion, and rivers were used to trap landing vehicles. The humans understood their home planet in ways the aliens never could. Every hill, canyon, and forest became part of the defense, and every person contributed to the effort. The planet itself was an ally, with sudden storms, shifting sands, and unstable terrain working in favor of the defenders. When the first wave of the fleet began its descent, humans were ready. Teams coordinated with signals, warnings, and traps carefully placed over days. The aliens assumed that their numbers would intimidate the humans, but the humans did not run. Instead, they moved quickly and cleverly, using misdirection and the environment to create chaos. Ships were damaged before they could land, patrols were ambushed, and the aliens realized that every action had consequences. The humans were learning faster than the aliens could adapt, and their confidence grew. In the desert, humans set up a series of connected traps. Alien landing squads fell into pits, were swept by controlled sandstorms, and caught in falling rocks. Even the strongest soldiers were injured or slowed down, unable to move freely in the environment. Coastal teams sabotaged alien ships, using hidden underwater spikes and nets to disable vehicles before they could fully land. In the mountains, humans lured patrols onto narrow ledges where rocks and debris fell from above. Every step the aliens took was met with resistance, and every movement became a challenge. Vorin watched in frustration. He had called for the fleet, hoping sheer numbers would solve the problem, but humans adapted quickly. They studied the attacks, learned from mistakes, and used the terrain in clever ways. "These creatures are learning too fast," an officer whispered. "They are turning the planet itself against us." Vorin clenched his claws in anger and fear. He had believed in technology, in training, and in superior numbers, but he could see that the humans were formidable in ways he had never imagined. Humans continued to fight not just for survival, but out of love for their home and each other. Families helped defend towns, neighbors shared supplies, and teams worked together to repair damage quickly. Even when facing larger alien forces, the humans did not despair. They used creativity and intelligence to survive and fight back. Communication was key, and they developed signals and codes that the aliens could not understand. Every encounter became a lesson, and every lesson made them stronger. The forests became particularly deadly for the aliens. Humans used the thick trees and dense undergrowth to hide, strike, and disappear. Patrols were confused by false trails, strange noises, and sudden attacks from hidden positions. Even advanced alien sensors could not see humans moving through the environment with ease. The invaders began to feel fear and frustration. The humans were using everything around them, and every attempt to adapt was countered by the defenders' knowledge of their world. Vorin decided to escalate the attacks. He deployed more troops, more ships, and more advanced weapons, hoping that overwhelming force would break the humans' resistance. The fleet moved in coordinated formations, deploying troops in key areas and using long-range firepower to target human positions. Yet every move was anticipated. Humans had learned to use the planet's natural defenses, hiding in forests, deserts, and mountains to avoid destruction. They had learned to move quickly, strike strategically, and retreat when necessary. The aliens realized that technology alone could not win this battle. In one dramatic encounter, an alien landing squad attempted to advance through a canyon. Humans had placed boulders and nets in hidden locations. As the aliens moved forward, the traps were triggered. Rocks falling from above, nets tangling their limbs, and hidden fires causing panic. Even the strongest soldiers were slowed, injured, or trapped. The humans moved like shadows, appearing where the aliens least expected, striking and disappearing before retaliation could occur. Every success gave them confidence, and every failure of the aliens reinforced their courage. The fleet continued to descend, but the humans' efforts multiplied. In cities, teams worked to create obstacles that slowed alien movement. Bridges were rigged to collapse, roads blocked, and buildings reinforced with hidden traps. Farmers and engineers converted everyday objects into weapons. Even children helped by relaying messages, guiding teams, and warning of approaching enemies. The humans were united by purpose, and their coordination made the alien attacks ineffective. Vorin's frustration grew as reports of failures arrived. Even with the full fleet, the humans continued to resist effectively. "They are not afraid of us," he said quietly. "They are clever, brave, and relentless. This planet is not like any we have seen before." His officers nodded silently, knowing that Vorin's assessment was correct. The humans had turned their world into a fortress, and every step the aliens took was met with obstacles, clever strategies, and relentless courage. As the battle continued, the humans learned quickly from every encounter. They adapted their tactics, coordinated with neighboring teams, and used the environment creatively. Every canyon, forest, desert, and ocean became a battlefield, and every person contributed. The planet itself seemed to fight with them, as storms, floods, and shifting terrain hindered alien movements. Even the most advanced technology could not overcome the combination of human intelligence, courage, and environmental advantage. The first major confrontation of the fleet ended with mixed results. The aliens suffered losses, their pride wounded, and their confidence shaken. The humans had survived, learned, and gained strength from every encounter. Vorin watched the planet below, knowing that the coming battles would be even more difficult. These humans were unlike any species he had faced. They were ordinary creatures who became extraordinary when defending their home, using courage, intelligence, and the planet itself as their weapons. The humans rested only briefly before preparing for the next wave. They repaired damage, reinforced traps, and shared knowledge gained from each encounter. Every individual contributed, whether by fighting, communicating, or planning. The planet was alive with human activity, a network of defenders ready to face the larger fleet. They did not know the full scale of the alien force, but they knew that unity, courage, and clever use of their world could turn the tide. Vorin knew that the humans were dangerous. Their resilience, adaptability, and courage made them unlike any other species. The fleet's arrival had not guaranteed victory. If anything, it had revealed how strong and determined these humans were. The coming battles would be harder, and Vorin realized that underestimating them had been a grave mistake. The humans prepared for what was to come, confident in their knowledge of the planet and their ability to fight together. The Zerathians had arrived with overwhelming numbers, but the humans were ready to resist with everything they had. Every canyon, forest, desert, and ocean would be used as a weapon, and every human would play a role. The planet itself seemed alive, ready to defend those who called it home. The stage was set for the next phase of the conflict. The humans had learned, adapted, and survived the first encounters. The aliens had brought their fleet hoping to crush resistance, but now understood that victory would not be simple. Earth was a dangerous world, and the humans who defended it were clever, brave, and relentless. The next battles would test both species, and the humans were ready to face them. The Zerathian fleet had arrived in full force, massive ships covering the sky, dark and silent like a shadow over the planet. Vorin watched from the command deck, his eyes scanning the humans below. He expected panic, surrender, and quick victories, but the humans were not afraid. They moved carefully, calmly, and with purpose, preparing for a battle that would decide the fate of their world. The alien commanders had underestimated them once, and Vorin knew they could not afford to do so again. The planet itself seemed alive, dangerous, and ready to resist. On Earth, the humans had a secret. Among them were the Deathworlders, elite defenders who had trained their entire lives to survive in the planet's deadliest environments. They were ordinary in appearance but extraordinary in skill. They could move through deserts, forests, frozen wastelands, and toxic swamps without fear. Their bodies and minds had adapted to the harshest conditions, and they used the environment as a weapon. No alien technology could match their understanding of the planet. When the Deathworlders moved, they were invisible until it was too late for the invaders. The first signs of their presence appeared in the mountains. Alien patrols attempted to advance through narrow passes, but the Deathworlders had prepared the terrain. Rocks were loosened, snow was manipulated to create avalanches, and hidden pits waited for the intruders. The aliens were caught off guard, and their training could not save them. Soldiers fell, trapped or buried as the humans struck from above and disappeared into the shadows. Their movements were precise, deadly, and unpredictable. In the deserts, Deathworlders used the shifting sands to their advantage. They created mirages and false trails, leading alien squads into traps and ambushes. Sandstorms, carefully controlled, blinded and disoriented the invaders. Even the most heavily armored soldiers struggled to move through the shifting terrain. Humans had adapted to these extreme conditions for generations, and now that knowledge became a weapon. The aliens had no understanding of the land, and every mistake cost them. Along the coast, humans set up obstacles in the water. Hidden spikes and nets awaited the landing ships, while Deathworlders patrolled silently from small boats and rocky coves. They struck quickly, damaging alien equipment and retreating before the invaders could respond. Waves, currents, and storms were manipulated to hinder alien movement. Even the oceans were dangerous for the invaders, who had assumed that water would be easy to cross. The planet itself became a battlefield, and humans used every part of it to their advantage. Vorin could not hide his frustration. Every attempt to land forces met fierce resistance. Scouts reported ambushes, traps, and clever attacks that left soldiers injured or dead. Humans had become more than defenders. They were predators in their own world. Vorin realized that brute force alone would not win this battle. The Deathworlders had turned the environment into a weapon, and the aliens were struggling to adapt. In the forests, Deathworlders moved like shadows. They used trees, undergrowth, and terrain to hide from sensors and patrols. Alien squads were drawn into false trails and ambushes, and by the time they realized the attack, it was too late. Humans struck and vanished before retaliation. The aliens' advanced technology could not see through the forest or anticipate the humans' movements. Panic began to spread among the soldiers, and reports of losses reached Vorin quickly. His confidence began to crack. The aliens tried to adapt. They deployed advanced sensors, armored vehicles, and heavy weapons. Yet every tactic was met with human ingenuity. Humans repaired traps quickly, created new obstacles, and used the planet itself to block alien advances. Rivers, cliffs, forests, deserts, and mountains became extensions of human strategy. Even when technology gave the aliens an advantage in strength, humans used cunning and speed to offset it. Each encounter taught them new ways to survive and fight. Vorin decided to escalate the battle. He ordered a full assault with heavy weapons aiming to crush human positions. Ships fired energy blasts from orbit, attempting to burn forests and flatten terrain. Yet humans had anticipated such attacks. They moved quickly, guiding civilians and equipment to safety and using the destroyed areas to create traps. Smoke, fire, and debris created confusion for the aliens. Humans adapted instantly, turning destruction into opportunity. The planet's dangerous terrain became an ally in every fight. The Deathworlders played the largest role in the assaults. They could move silently, strike with deadly precision, and retreat before the aliens could respond. They set ambushes in volcanoes, radioactive zones, freezing wastelands, and toxic swamps. Every part of Earth's harshest environments was used against the invaders. The aliens began to fear these humans. No strategy, no training, no weapon could fully prepare them for enemies who thrived in conditions they could not survive. Even in urban areas, humans fought cleverly. Ordinary buildings became defensive structures, and civilians assisted in ways that slowed and injured the aliens. Engineers reinforced roads, created traps in bridges, and camouflaged obstacles in the streets. Every move was planned, coordinated, and executed with precision. Humans were united in purpose. Each person played a role, and the planet itself provided hidden advantages. The aliens had never faced a species so connected to its environment and so willing to fight for survival. The battle reached a critical point in the mountains. Deathworlders had set traps along the paths, rocks and snow, waiting for the alien squads. The invaders moved carefully but could not anticipate every danger. Avalanches buried groups, cliffs collapsed, and ambushes from hidden positions injured soldiers before they could react. The humans struck without warning and disappeared into the terrain, leaving chaos behind. Every failure made the aliens more cautious but also more desperate. Along the coasts, humans continued to use the oceans. Boats moved silently through coves, striking landing squads and retreating to hidden channels. Waves, tides, and storms were manipulated to slow alien movement. The humans had become part of the environment, using it as a weapon to defend their world. The aliens could not adapt fast enough. Every landing attempt was met with resistance, and every retreat was costly. The fleet above began to realize that Earth's defenders were unlike any species they had faced before. In the deserts, Deathworlders used mirages and sandstorms to confuse the invaders. Alien squads moved carefully but were still caught in traps, nets, and falling debris. Even the strongest soldiers struggled with the harsh conditions. The humans had lived here for generations, and every movement was precise and deadly. The aliens' advanced technology could not replace knowledge of the planet, and every failure made the soldiers more fearful. Voron received reports of losses across the planet. His fleet was powerful, but the humans' connection to the planet and their skill made them deadly opponents. He realized that even with superior technology, the aliens could not win easily. The humans had turned the environment itself into a weapon. Every canyon, forest, desert, ocean, and mountain was part of their strategy, and every human was a participant. They had learned from the scouts, adapted quickly, and now controlled the battlefield. The aliens tried to adjust, but the humans anticipated every move. They studied alien patterns, predicted attacks, and coordinated defenses across the planet. Even ordinary objects were used as weapons, and every human acted with courage and precision. The Deathworlders moved silently, striking from impossible angles, and the planet itself hindered the invaders. The aliens were trapped between skillful opponents and a dangerous environment that they could not control. Despite overwhelming numbers, the aliens began to retreat in small groups. They had suffered losses and realized that the humans' tactics, combined with the deadly environment, made progress nearly impossible. Voron's frustration grew, and he understood that Earth was not a planet to conquer lightly. The humans were dangerous not because of technology, but because of courage, intelligence, and their understanding of the planet. They had survived every attack and had turned their home into a fortress. The humans regrouped after each engagement, repairing damage and reinforcing positions. They shared knowledge of alien tactics, improving defenses constantly. Every canyon, forest, desert, and ocean became a tool for survival and attack. Even children helped by relaying messages and guiding teams. Civilians moved supplies and helped fortify positions. The planet itself seemed to respond, storms and terrain working in favor of the humans. Every step taken by the aliens was met with resistance, and every mistake was costly. Voron realized the humans' strength was more than physical. They were united, intelligent, and brave. Every individual contributed. Every person had a role, and the planet itself became part of their defense. Even the massive fleet above could not guarantee victory. The humans had adapted faster than the aliens could predict, and every encounter had made them stronger. The Deathworlders, ordinary humans with extraordinary skills, had become the symbols of resistance and terror for the invaders. The stage was set for the next phase of the battle. The humans had survived the first attacks, learned from every encounter, and strengthened their defenses. The aliens had underestimated them once, but now they understood the challenge. Earth was a dangerous world, and its defenders were clever, skilled, and relentless. The Deathworlders moved silently, using the planet itself as a weapon, and every human contributed to the fight. The aliens were beginning to fear these creatures, ordinary yet extraordinary, defending their home with everything they had. The planet continued to spin under the stars, oceans crashing, winds blowing, deserts shifting, and forests hiding the humans' movements. The battle had reached a turning point. The humans were no longer simply surviving. They were fighting back with intelligence, skill, and courage. The aliens had arrived expecting submission, but they found resistance, unpredictability, and deadly skill. The coming confrontations would test both sides, but Earth's defenders were ready. They had become one with their world, and that world would not let them fall. The battle had stretched across deserts, mountains, forests, and oceans, but the humans were not slowing down. Every alien attack was met with clever resistance, and every retreat of the invaders gave the humans time to strengthen their defenses. The Zerathians had assumed that overwhelming numbers would break the humans quickly, but now it was clear that Earth's defenders were more than just survivors. They were warriors who understood their home and used it as a weapon. Voran watched from his command ship, his frustration and fear growing with every report of failure. In the mountains, Deathworlders continued to control the high ground. They moved silently along narrow ledges and hidden paths, striking alien patrols with deadly precision. Rocks were released to crush squads below, and hidden traps incapacitated even the strongest soldiers. The aliens tried to advance, but every step was met with resistance, and their confidence began to falter. Voran had expected surrender, but instead he saw a species that thrived in danger, learning and adapting faster than his fleet could destroy them. In the deserts, humans used the shifting sands and mirages to confuse and trap the invaders. Alien squads moved cautiously but were still lured into deep pits, covered with nets and struck with fire. Even armored soldiers struggled with the extreme heat and loose terrain. Humans had lived in these regions for generations, and every move was calculated for maximum effect. The aliens began to fear the very land beneath their feet, realizing that the environment itself was a weapon wielded by clever opponents. Along the coasts, humans struck from hidden positions in the water. Boats moved silently through narrow channels, attacking landing squads before disappearing behind rocks and waves. Currents and tides were used to create obstacles for alien ships, forcing them to retreat or risk damage. Even the oceans, which seemed open and easy to cross, became a deadly place for the invaders. The humans used the planet's natural dangers to their advantage, making every advance costly for the aliens. In the forests, humans set ambushes with skill and patience. Alien patrols were drawn into false paths, surrounded by traps, and attacked from hidden positions. The invaders' technology could not see through dense trees and undergrowth, and they were forced to fight blindly. Every strike from the humans was calculated to slow, injure, or terrify the soldiers. Panic spread among the aliens as they realized that no part of the planet was safe, and every human could strike at any moment. Voran called for reports and was met with disturbing news. Losses were high, morale was dropping, and the humans' ability to adapt was unmatched. "They are using the world itself against us," an officer whispered. "We can't fight them like we have fought others." Voran remained silent, knowing that admitting fear would weaken his command. Still, he could see that Earth was not like any other planet, and its defenders were not like any other species. Humans had turned their home into a fortress, and every part of it was deadly. The aliens tried to use heavier weapons, aiming to destroy human positions from orbit. Energy blasts and missiles targeted forests, mountains, and cities, hoping to break the resistance. Yet the humans had anticipated destruction and prepared escape routes and hidden shelters. They used the chaos to their advantage, creating new traps and attacking retreating squads. The planet itself seemed to respond to the humans' efforts with storms, floods, and shifting terrain, slowing the invaders' progress. Every attempt to destroy human positions was met with countermeasures and clever planning. In one dramatic confrontation, an alien squad attempted to advance through a canyon. Humans had prepared hidden boulders, nets, and fire traps. As the aliens moved forward, rocks fell from above, nets tangled their limbs, and fire caused panic. Soldiers were injured, trapped, or forced to retreat. The humans struck quickly and vanished into hidden paths, leaving chaos behind. The aliens realized that even their strongest units could not move freely in the terrain, and every attempt to control the battlefield was met with resistance. Along the coasts, the humans continued their clever attacks. Landing squads were lured into narrow channels where hidden obstacles waited. Boats moved silently, attacking from unexpected directions and then disappeared before retaliation. Waves and currents were used strategically to slow and confuse the invaders. Even heavily armored alien soldiers were vulnerable to the environment and human ingenuity. The oceans, which had seemed easy to cross, became a deadly challenge. In the deserts, humans set traps across wide areas, using heat, sand, and mirages to confuse the aliens. Patrols fell into pits, were struck by falling rocks, or disoriented by sudden storms created by human machines. The planet's harsh conditions became a weapon in itself, and the humans had mastered it. Every encounter taught them new ways to fight, and every lesson made the aliens' attempts more difficult. The invaders realized that survival here required more than training. It required knowledge, courage, and adaptability. In the forests, humans struck from hidden positions, using false paths, sound tricks, and careful planning. Alien squads were drawn into ambushes, injured, and forced to retreat. Even advanced sensors could not detect the humans' movements through thick undergrowth. Panic spread among the soldiers, and Voron's reports of losses increased. The humans had turned their world into a deadly battlefield, and every corner of it was controlled by clever, brave defenders. Voron's fleet attempted to coordinate larger attacks, hoping that overwhelming force would succeed. Yet every plan was countered by human ingenuity in the harsh terrain. Rivers, mountains, deserts, and forests became traps, and every person contributed to the defense. The Deathworlders moved silently, striking from impossible angles while ordinary humans repaired defenses and guided reinforcements. Every step taken by the aliens was met with resistance, and every mistake was costly. Despite their superior numbers, the aliens began to suffer heavy losses. They had expected surrender, but the humans' courage, intelligence, and connection to the planet made them deadly. Voron could see that even with the full fleet, victory was uncertain. Every encounter left the humans stronger, more experienced, and more confident. They had adapted to every challenge, learned from every attack, and turned every part of the planet into a weapon. The humans' success was not only in fighting, but in unity. They communicated across cities, forests, mountains, and deserts. They shared information about alien movements, coordinated attacks, and repaired damaged defenses. Every human contributed, whether by fighting, guiding teams, or preparing traps. The planet itself seemed to work with them, storms, floods, and unstable terrain hindering the invaders. Every step taken by the aliens was met with resistance, and every failure increased their fear. Voron realized that the humans were unlike any species he had faced. They were ordinary creatures with extraordinary courage, intelligence, and adaptability. Even the Deathworlders, humans trained for survival in the planet's deadliest areas, were symbols of terror for the invaders. Every move, every ambush, and every trap reinforced the aliens' fear and frustration. They had underestimated the humans, and now they faced the consequences. In the final days of this phase, humans continued to strike and retreat, avoiding direct confrontation when possible, but taking advantage of every opportunity. Mountains, deserts, forests, and oceans became battlefields, and every person played a role. Even children helped by relaying messages and guiding adults. Civilians contributed by repairing structures and moving supplies. The planet itself seemed alive, aiding the humans in every battle. Voron watched the reports of losses, injuries, and retreats. His fleet was strong, but the humans had turned the planet into a fortress. Every canyon, forest, desert, ocean, and mountain was defended, and every human was a participant. The aliens' confidence had been shattered. Even with reinforcements and advanced weapons, they could not overcome the combination of human courage, intelligence, and knowledge of the planet. The humans were learning faster than the aliens could adapt. They studied the invaders' tactics, predicted movements, and coordinated defenses across the planet. They turned destruction into advantage, obstacles into traps, and every encounter into a lesson. The Deathworlders moved silently, striking from impossible angles while ordinary humans repaired defenses, guided teams, and shared information. Every part of the planet became a weapon and every human a defender. Vorin knew that the next phase would be critical. The humans had survived every attack, adapted to every challenge, and strengthened their defenses. The aliens had assumed that overwhelming numbers and advanced technology would ensure victory. But they were learning too late that Earth was a dangerous world, and its defenders were clever, brave, and relentless. The stage was set for the final confrontations, and the humans were ready to face them with everything they had. The planet continued to spin under the stars. Oceans crashing, winds blowing, deserts shifting, and forests hiding human movements. The battle had reached a point where humans were no longer just surviving. They were controlling the battlefield. The aliens had expected easy conquest, but they faced clever, brave, and united defenders who knew every part of their home. The coming battles would test both sides, but Earth's defenders were ready to meet the challenge. The Zerathian fleet had suffered greatly. Losses were high and morale was breaking. Vorin watched from his command ship as human forces moved with precision, striking quickly and retreating into safety. The humans had become masters of their world, using every canyon, desert, forest, ocean, and mountain as a weapon. Even the most heavily armed alien squads were unable to advance without facing ambushes, traps, and the relentless determination of the defenders. Vorin realized that brute force alone would not win this war. On Earth, the humans were organized, united, and ready. The Deathworlders, elite defenders who thrived in the harshest environments, coordinated with ordinary humans to control the battlefield. Families, children, engineers, and farmers all had roles, contributing to the planet's defense. Civilians repaired traps, moved supplies, and guided teams through safe paths. Every individual mattered, and every action counted. The humans were not fighting for conquest, they were fighting for survival, for home, and for each other. In the deserts, Deathworlders moved silently across shifting sands, leading alien squads into carefully prepared traps. Sandstorms, rock slides, and hidden pits slowed the invaders while humans struck from hidden positions. Alien soldiers could not move freely, and every step became dangerous. The humans' knowledge of the land gave them an advantage that no alien technology could match. Even heavily armed squads were injured or forced to retreat, unable to overcome the environment itself. In the mountains, humans controlled high ground. Narrow passes, avalanches, and hidden cliffs became deadly obstacles. Alien squads moving through the terrain were struck from above, trapped, and forced to retreat. The Deathworlders were silent and precise, attacking quickly and disappearing before retaliation. The aliens began to fear the very mountains, realizing that Earth itself was part of the human defense. Vorin's confidence faltered as he understood that even the full fleet could not conquer this planet so easily. Along the coasts, humans used water as a weapon. Hidden obstacles, swift currents, and coordinated attacks from small boats slowed alien advances. Landing squads struggled with tides, waves, and ambushes, often retreating before they could complete their mission. The oceans, once thought easy to cross, had become deadly. Humans struck from the shadows, using knowledge of tides and geography to their advantage. Every landing attempt was met with resistance, and the aliens' losses increased. In the forests, humans remained invisible and deadly. False trails, hidden pits, and ambushes made every movement by alien squads dangerous. Advanced sensors could not detect humans hiding among trees and undergrowth. Soldiers became lost, disoriented, and trapped. Panic spread quickly among the invaders as they realized they could not predict the humans' actions. Every encounter strengthened the defenders' confidence, and every failure demoralized the aliens further. Vorin ordered the fleet to concentrate firepower on major human settlements, hoping that massive destruction would break their resistance. Energy blasts and missiles rained down, attempting to flatten buildings and forests. Yet the humans had anticipated destruction and moved quickly to safe zones. Damage was repaired and destroyed areas became new traps. Smoke, fire, and debris confused the aliens, and humans used the chaos to strike vulnerable squads. The planet itself seemed to fight with the humans, turning every attack into an opportunity. In one decisive battle, the aliens attempted to take a canyon that was key to controlling the region. Deathworlders had prepared every path, controlling cliffs, ledges, and hidden passages. Alien squads moved cautiously but were immediately met with rocks, avalanches, and fire traps. Every step was dangerous and the invaders suffered heavy losses. Humans struck quickly from hidden positions, then vanished into safety. The battle ended with the aliens retreating, demoralized and injured. The humans had shown that they could control even the most strategic locations on their planet. The Zerathians tried to adapt, but the humans were always one step ahead. They studied alien movements, predicted attacks, and coordinated defenses across deserts, mountains, forests, and coasts. Even ordinary tools became weapons, and every human contributed. Children relayed messages, engineers repaired equipment, and civilians reinforced traps. The planet itself aided the humans, with natural obstacles and harsh terrain slowing the invaders. Every alien attempt to advance was met with resistance and clever strategy. The aliens' morale continued to drop. They had expected surrender, but the humans' intelligence, courage, and unity made them dangerous. Vorin realized that his fleet could not achieve victory by force alone. Even with superior numbers and advanced weapons, the humans' connection to their planet and their willingness to fight for it gave them an advantage that could not be overcome easily. The invaders' pride began to crumble. In the deserts, humans struck with speed and precision. Ambushes, traps, and sudden sandstorms caught alien squads off guard. Even the strongest soldiers were slowed or injured. The humans' knowledge of the terrain and ability to adapt gave them power that no technology could replace. The aliens began to fear the ground beneath their feet, realizing that the planet itself was defending the humans. Every retreat and failure added to their frustration. In the mountains, Deathworlders controlled every path. Narrow ledges, avalanches, and hidden cliffs trapped alien squads. Humans struck quickly, then disappeared into hidden paths. Every attempt by the aliens to take the high ground ended in failure. The humans' courage and skill made the terrain a deadly weapon, and the invaders realized that Earth could not be conquered easily. Even their advanced technology could not overcome the combination of skill, courage, and knowledge of the planet. Along the coasts, humans used tides, waves, and hidden obstacles to control the battle. Landing squads were delayed, trapped, or injured before completing their objectives. Small boats moved silently, striking and retreating, making the oceans a dangerous battlefield. Even advanced alien technology could not detect or predict human movements. Every encounter left the aliens weaker and more cautious. In the forests, humans remained unseen but deadly. They used false trails, sound tricks, and ambushes to confuse and strike alien squads. Advanced sensors failed to detect them, and soldiers became lost, trapped, and panicked. Every encounter taught humans new strategies and strengthened their confidence. The invaders, though powerful, were beginning to understand that they faced more than just skill. They faced a species united, clever, and brave. Vorin realized that his fleet had underestimated the humans at every step. The planet's defenders were not only brave and skilled, but they were connected to the land in a way the aliens could not understand. Every canyon, desert, forest, ocean, and mountain became part of the defense, and every human contributed. The Deathworlders, elite fighters who thrived in the harshest conditions, were symbols of terror for the invaders. Even ordinary humans were deadly when united with the planet itself. In the final confrontations, humans coordinated across the planet. Deserts, mountains, forests, and coasts became battlefields. Deathworlders struck from impossible angles, while ordinary humans repaired defenses, guided teams, and shared intelligence. Every encounter strengthened the defenders and weakened the invaders. The aliens' losses mounted and morale fell further. Vorin understood that the humans were no longer simply surviving. They were controlling the battlefield. The planet itself seemed alive in support of the humans. Storms, floods, and shifting terrain slowed the invaders and made every movement dangerous. The humans used these conditions to their advantage, creating traps, ambushes, and defensive positions. Every canyon, forest, desert, ocean, and mountain was part of a coordinated strategy. The aliens were trapped between skillful human fighters and the deadly environment, and every mistake was costly. Even the massive fleet above could not change the outcome. Every landing attempt, every patrol, and every assault was met with resistance, clever strategy, and environmental obstacles. Humans had adapted to every challenge, learned from every encounter, and strengthened their defenses continuously. They had survived every attack, turned destruction into advantage, and united as one force defending their home. In the end, the aliens began a full retreat. Losses were too high, morale was broken, and their confidence shattered. Vorin realized that Earth could not be conquered, not by numbers, not by technology, and not by force alone. The humans' courage, intelligence, adaptability, and connection to the planet had turned them into an unstoppable force. They had survived every attack and had proven that even ordinary creatures could defend their home against overwhelming odds. The humans watched as the fleet retreated into space. They had fought not for glory, but for survival, for their families and for their world. Every canyon, forest, desert, ocean, and mountain had been used as a weapon, and every human had played a part. Even the Deathworlders, trained for the planet's harshest environments, had become legends among their people. The planet itself had defended its inhabitants, and the humans had proven that no force could conquer a species united with its home. Voron's fleet disappeared into the distance, battered and defeated. He understood that Earth was not a world to take lightly. The humans had turned their home into a fortress, and their courage and intelligence had made them victorious. Every individual, every trap, every strategy, and every environment had contributed to the defense. The humans had survived, adapted, and emerged stronger than ever. The planet's defenders celebrated quietly. They had endured, fought, and survived an enemy that had expected easy victory. Families reunited, communities repaired damage, and children played safely under the sky they had fought to protect. The Deathworlders returned to their hidden paths, ready to defend again if needed. The humans had learned the greatest lesson of all. Courage, intelligence, unity, and connection to home could overcome even the most advanced enemy. Earth was safe once more, not because of weapons or technology, but because of the humans' bravery, cleverness, and their bond with the planet. The aliens had called for reinforcements and brought their fleet, but they had underestimated the defenders. Humans had survived, adapted, and fought back with everything they had. The planet itself had become a weapon in their hands, and no force could break their unity. The Zerathians retreated, leaving behind broken ships, injured soldiers, and a hard lesson. Humans had proven themselves as defenders of their world, extraordinary in their courage, intelligence, and unity. Every canyon, forest, desert, ocean, and mountain had been a battlefield, and every human had contributed. Earth had survived, and its people had emerged victorious against overwhelming odds. The planet spun quietly beneath the stars, oceans moving, winds blowing, deserts shifting, and forests standing tall. Humans had fought with courage, skill, and intelligence, using every part of their home as a weapon. The Deathworlders had led the charge in the deadliest regions, while ordinary humans had contributed in countless ways. Together, they had defended Earth and shown that even the simplest creatures, united with their world, could overcome any enemy. The battle was over, but the story of survival, courage, and intelligence would be remembered. Humans had faced the most powerful invaders they had ever known, and they had won. Earth remained their home, and they had proven that no force could conquer a species that understood its planet and fought together to protect it.